Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of installing Gentoo Linux. If you've been following along, then you should be in the live CD. It should look something like this. And, well, actually, why don't we get back to the handbook, which would be, how did we get there last time? Downloads, handbook. Let's figure out what chapter we were on. All right, so last time we got the installation medium, our network just happened to work, and we got the disks ready. So now we're ready for the basic Gentoo installation as a stage 3 archive. So let's go ahead and click on that. Make sure we didn't miss anything. Let's go back one step. Preparing the disks. Space. Using parted. Viewing the current partition. We did that. We didn't do fdisk. That was the alternative. Boot partition. Swap partition. We did the file system. I remember that. Aha. This is what I didn't do. I've restarted the virtual machine since last time. So let's go ahead and mount in case you stopped and restarted your computer into the live CD. You're gonna want to make sure you remount the partition that we created last time. So let's switch over to back to the virtual machine here. So here fdisk-l, I've already executed that command once. I'll do it one more time for you. But if you recall from last time, this /dev/vda1, that's the name of the file that points to the partition we made last time. So we're going to mount /dev/vda1, and the place where we want to mount it is in the folder mnt, it stands for mount Gentoo. Okay, that's a lowercase g. And again, just for a little bit of review, if I list the contents of the root directory, these are all the folders underneath the root directory, kind of equivalent to the C drive. And in there, I have another folder called MNT, which stands for mount. This is all inside the live CD. So the live CD creates this folder structure for us. And originally, that Gentoo folder was empty. And so when we say we are mounting our file partition onto there, it means that it's the same as plugging in a thumb drive and then accessing the files from the thumb drive. We're plugging in that hard drive partition and we're accessing it from this folder. So right now that should be empty. It is empty, except for lost and found. That has to do with the file system format. Let's not worry about that right now. And so we're going to make that not empty. So let's see if we can just follow along here with the handbook. Installing stage 3. This is where things start to get fun. All right, well, let's make sure the time and the date is correct on this thing. So let's see. Date. Friday, November 20th, 12:46. Yeah, I think that's right. Good. If it's not, follow along. It'll tell you how to fix it. All right, choosing a stage tarball. This is another area in the installation where you have a choice. Let's see, how am I going to do this? Open link in new tab. Actually, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And which one do I want? I don't want hardened. I do want stage 3. Stage 3 system D. Okay, so this is actually one of the first big choices you'll have to make in your Gentoo journey. System D is, I guess you can call it an init system or an initializing system. It's so whenever you boot up your computer, the very, very, very first thing that happens is some sort of BIOS or whatever. This comes from the actual motherboard. Will kind of start communicating with stuff, uh, and then that's going to hand off control immediately to the init system or the initializing system of the operating system. And you get quite a few choices in Linux actually for an init system, but probably the most predominant nowadays is System D. It's relatively new though. I don't know, 5, 7 years. And there's actually some controversy. A lot of people don't like System D. They think it does too much, where the Unix philosophy is that each program should do one thing and do it well. So the alternative, it doesn't have a name here, but I guess they call it the RC or something. I don't know. That's kind of the old school way. I prefer System D just because it's easier, and so that's the one that we're gonna use. So I need to find a way to download this into my live CD, which means I need to find a way to copy this link, copy link location, and to somehow put it into the virtual machine that we have over here. So let's see if I can figure that out. wget, can I paste into this thing? Reset, power down, full screen. I might just have to type it out. Well, maybe that's what we're gonna do then. That's a really long thing. All right. Here's what we're gonna do then. Is there a browser in here? Link, link. Yes. All right. From the live CD, we can use a text-based browser. So that is gonna be what we do. This is the browser, I think. If I hit G, I can enter a URL. So let's see. I think the handbook actually holds our hand through some of this. Let's come back here to the handbook. Graphical browsers, command line browsers. All right, they want us to go to here. More traditional readers are old timer, blah, blah, blah. Surf to the Gentoo mirrorless like so. Okay, this is going to be fun. Because I think I know how to download it, but then I don't know how to get to the downloaded file from links. Let's just go in there. Okay. Gentoo.org/downloads/mirrors. Back over here. Was it http www.gentoo.org/downloads/mirrors. Oh boy, what's going to happen next? Okay, so here's the website. Again, this is just kind of an old school text browser. I'm just hitting the down arrow, trying to find that download link. URL, North America. All right, I'm just gonna go with HTTP, this thing right here. Oh, look at that. All right, now here's a folder hierarchy. So let's switch back to the handbook. I think it's gonna continue to hold our hands, hopefully. So let's see. We use the browser. Select a mirror close by. We did that. HTTP suffices. We did that. Move to the releases AMD64 auto builds directory. Aha, that's the key. So this is one of the reasons I said that it's sometimes easier to just do this in someone else's live CD that has a graphical interface, because then you could use a regular browser and you wouldn't have to work with this. This is probably the part that is just, this is probably the easiest thing that helps accomplish. So what is it? Releases, AMD64, auto builds. All right, and here we get a choice. So which stage 3 do we want? I said I didn't want hardened. I don't want Musil. I do want system D. Okay, so select that. And that's what I want right there. So there's a bunch of files in here. This looks like the minimal install CD up here. Contents, digests. These other two files are ways to verify that download after the fact. This is the stage 3 tarball. This is what I actually want. This is if I don't want multilib. Oh no, this is the one I want, system D. Okay, so let's hit enter on that guy. This last one over here is x32. I don't know what that's for. Content type is application/octet stream. Do you want to save or display the file? Save. We'll keep the file name. I hit tab to get to OK. Enter. All right. Wow. Look at that. That's just going now, isn't it? All right. While that happens, let's go back to the handbook and see what's going to be happening next in here. That looks like it's going pretty fast. There are all available stage files display, blah, blah, blah. You can verify the integrity. I never do this, but you probably should, honestly. Those not interested can close the command browser and move directly to unpacking the stage ball. That's what we're going to do next. You think I should do this? I don't really want to. Yeah, I'm going to skip the verifying. You should verify it, though. Just to be safe. Just to be safe. Okay, so next, all right, so what we're actually downloading here, and is that still going? That's still going. I'll come over here to the downloads. So this is like a zip file, except rather than using zip for the compression, it's using, I guess, a Linuxy thing called tar, and the file type is called a tarball rather than a zip file. And it's basically what they have in that tarball in this stage 3 is a minimal Gentoo installation. So right now we're in the live CD. I think it's technically Gentoo, but it's actually less than even what's in the stage 3. They cut out a bunch of stuff, I think, to make it smaller. Here we have almost a quarter of a gigabyte of stuff. This is going to be the very basic system that you need, not just to run Gentoo, but also to finalize the installation. So the next step is actually going to be taking that tarball and unpacking it. So this would be equivalent to unzipping with a zip file. And they want us to do this in a very particular way. Okay, so like we talked about before, at the command line, you issue a command. So we're going to use the tar command. And then, notice that before when we were using, ping or some of the other commands, we used a little dash to specify options or flags. That's just a convention. So here, xpvf, that didn't need a dash. Whereas here, still the same tar command, they do have dashes. So, you need to make sure that you read the manual page for whatever command you're interested in so that you can know how to communicate with it. I think X means uncompress. I forget what. Oh wait, it's telling us all of it down here. X means extract. This is really important that we do this exactly the way it says it, because again, this is going to be the base of our system. It's important for the permissions to be right. It's important for, that it knows it's coming from a file. I don't know what this X attributes thing is, but that's also important. So let's go over. I think the download is complete now. See if we can find our file first of all. So how do I switch this? There we go. All right, so if we hit Q, do you really want to exit? Yes. And let's see if there's hey, there it is. It downloaded it right to our working directory. That's beautiful. All right, so now we need a tar xvpf. Let's flip back to the browser. We want to make sure we get this command correct. xvpf. Okay, stage 3. So this is the asterisk. So they've made this such that you can just copy and paste. So again, this is going to be easier if you are in a graphical working environment, because you can literally copy and paste this. Because the asterisk is a wild card. So no matter what version you're installing, this command will work. So we'll go ahead and put in our actual file name here. So x attributes dash include. All right, so let's first do the file name. Stage 3. So one of the nice things, very, very common in Linux command lines is if you hit tab, you'll get auto completion. So I hit tab and it completed my file name. There's no other files there for it to pick between. So then the next part was dash dash x attributes dash include. Okay, let's look at that guy. Dash dash x attributes dash include equals, I think, star dot star, if I'm not mistaken. Space, and then I think there was one more. Just want to be really careful to get this right. Dash dash do numeric dash owner. Okay. Dash dash numeric dash owner. And before I hit enter, I'm just going to triple check because again, this is a very, very important step. And if I can find my Firefox, there it is. Make sure that the same options are used. Okay. Ensure that user and group IDs. All right, here we go. I think we're ready to do this. Let's hit enter on this bad boy. This might even take a minute. Yep, that's all the files that it's unpacking. You know, I don't even think we were in the right folder actually. Oh man, I think when it's done, I'm gonna have to move it all. Because here, let's go. But while that works, let's go back to Firefox. If you pay attention, again, this is meant to be copied and pasted. But if you pay attention, one of the first things it did up here was change into the Gentoo directory. CD stands for change directories, and then you can specify a path and it'll move you to that directory. In my haste, I did not do that. And this tar command by default, so I'm going to scroll back down. By default, if you don't specify where you want to extract, it's going to just extract in whatever current working directory you're sitting in. So since I didn't change to the mounted Gentoo directory, again, that's the partition that we made in episode 1. If we don't change directories to there, I'm just literally installing it. I don't even know where. I think I'm in RAM right now. Okay, let's see if that extraction is, no, still extracting. All right, that's great. And you know, why don't we just kill it? Control C, we'll kill it. RM, so RM is remove. And here's what happens if you just try to remove a directory. It tells you, I can't remove it. It's a directory. To remove a directory, you have to tell it -R, which means recursive, which lets it go into the directory to remove it. Do you want to go into the directory? Sure. Do you want to remove this file? Sure. How about this symbolic link? Okay. This is going to take forever. Control C. And so pretty much most of the times when you want to delete something, you're going to pass the F flag, which means force. You want to be really careful with this. Okay, there's no recycling bin. There's no undo. When you remove something using the RM command, it's gone forever. Okay, so if you're worried about making a mistake, then again, if you're in a graphical environment, when you remove things, it usually goes to a recycling bin where you can undo it if you want. Okay, so now I'm where I need to be. I'm gonna move the file from where we put it to where I am. Okay, so let's see. So CD we talked about. MV stands for move. The squiggly line is just a shorthand for your home directory. So I can even do, I think, does this work? No. I forget how to expand that. Oh, there you go. So if you echo means to print out the name of a variable, it's just /root is the home directory. So now if I print working directory, I'm in /mount/Gentoo. That's the partition we made that's now mounted. Again, it's like plugging in your thumb drive. If I list the contents, I now have the stage 3 tarball that we talked about before. And so now I'm going to hit the up arrow to find my tar command again. Now we're going to extract it to here in the proper location. Okay. So, like I said, this is live, y'all. This is not scripted. But we made a mistake and we had to fix it. So let's see what's going to happen next. To optimize Gentoo, it's possible to set a couple of variables. A commented listing of possible variables. Fire up an editor. Oh yeah, this is going to be fun. Okay, well that's all the time I have today for the stream. I think I'm going to do part 2 of episode 2. We're still in episode 2, I think. And then maybe mash them together for the YouTube upload later. So thank you for joining in, if in fact you did join in. Welcome back, friends, to the second half of episode 2 of installing Gentoo Linux. Thank you for dialing in and following along. If you were here last time when we left off, we were actually here in the virtual machine. We had just executed the tar xvpf command. This is untarring. Uncompressing is akin to unzipping uh, the tarball, which contains all of the system files that we need to finish the installation. So let's go ahead and list out the contents. And you can see that what that tarball had inside of it was this directory structure. Uh, Ultimately, whenever we're done with the installation, all these directories are going to be underneath the root path of our file system. So this is going to be our operating system. So let's go back here to the handbook and let's see where we were. Unpacking the stage. So next is configuring some compile options. So this is a part that I guess is maybe probably yeah, pretty important-ish in the Gentoo world. So a lot of people that install Gentoo, one of the things they like about it is that each program on the system is fine-tuned, okay, to the specifications of that system, meaning that when it's compiled specifically to whatever CPU and architecture is present on the system. All right, and that all comes by way of Gentoo's package manager, which is called portage, and that package manager has some configuration files that the handbook here is walking you through. Now, some of the most important settings in that configuration file are this CFLAGS and CXX So I'm going to go back over here to virtual machine for a second. So if you remember, in the command line, we have a command, in this case ls, which is list. And I'm giving that command an argument, or in this case, we're going to call it a flag, okay, with the 2 dashes and then the word help. And what that's telling is the command, rather than executing, it's essentially altering the behavior of how the command runs, okay? So here, oh, whoops, I wanted to pipe that into less, actually. So here we can see that there's all kinds of different flags we can give to the list command. A -a means, don't hide hidden directories. A -d means list only the directories, not their contents, etc. So now if we flip back over here to the handbook, these CFLAGS and CXX flags are the same types of flags, just like the --help, except these are flags that are going to go to the compiler, all right, whether it's a C compiler or a C++ compiler. And those flags are going to alter how the compiler compiles the programs that are ultimately going to be run on the machine. This section goes into lots of details, and again, please read the manual. There's lots of information in here. But let's see. Dash, I always called it March. But actually I think it's M Arch. I don't know what the M stands for, but the Arch is architecture. So this is going to tell the compiler what architecture should I compile for? Is it an Intel? Is it a Ryzen? What kind of Intel? What kind of Ryzen, etc. And then the M tune flag, tells it for that architecture what types of features does it support. Okay, let's see. This is live. This is live. We're just gonna try it though. Let's see. I'm gonna do a search for Ryzen 3 1200. That's the really old CPU that I have. But I think in here one of these links should be, oh, tech spec. I know this is really small. Oh, you know what? Let me zoom in for you. How's that? And then down here there was one that said, no, that's tech spot. Why don't we look up specifications? Don't mind my poor typing there. Notebook check, AMD.com. There was a website that I've used before. I'm gonna be really embarrassed if I can't find it. Why don't we just click on this, see what it says? There was like a website that was like, oh, these are all the things that it supports. Specifications. And of course, this is really tiny. Let's zoom in. I understand. You want to use my cookies. Cookie. System memory, key features, foundation, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm not going to find it. Dang, that's embarrassing. But there's, maybe technologies? No. Let's try one more time. Maybe let's use different search parameter. Ryzen flags? That's not going to do what we want. Oh man. Technical specifications. Specifications. Alright, if this doesn't work, we're going to give up and keep moving. CPU world. Let's see what that says. Let's zoom in for you viewers at home. Yeah, this is what I wanted. Extensions and technologies. I don't know what any of this means, but different CPUs have different extensions and technologies available to them, which the compiler, in this case, we're using the GCC, so the GNU C compiler. It's a free and open source C and C++ compiler. So the compiler can compile the program using these technologies. MMX, extensions to MMX, SSE, blah, 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 blah. So your Intel chip might have some of these. It might have none of them. It might have ones that this chip doesn't have. And so now see if I can come back. Here we go. So that's what the -m tune flag is going to do, is it's going to let us specify to the compiler which of those flags to use, or which of those technologies are supported by our chip. Now, if you read here, a commonly used value is native, as that tells the compiler to select the target architecture of the current system. So you actually don't have to go in there and manually specify each feature that your chip supports, because GCC is actually smart enough to go in there and figure it out on itself. It'll say, hey, what CPU am I running on? Oh, it's a Ryzen 3 1200. Great, I know exactly what your capabilities are. Let's see what else. The -O for optimization. Heed the warnings here. O2 is recommended. You might want to uber optimize it, but there's really good reasons not to do that. -pipe. That's probably a good one. This just makes it compile faster. In fact, I don't think I ever used that. Maybe I should. I don't know what this is. Don't keep the frame pointer in a register. It says, I think it says it could have serious repercussions. Blah, blah, blah. The default values contained. That is okay. The default values should be good enough. Look at that. The following one is just an example. So why don't we go check what the defaults are? It says they should be good enough. Again, I tend to trust the handbook, but let's go ahead and if you were paying attention, if we go to etc., which is where it's literally, I don't know, I guess etc. is short for etc. But this is a location on, this is very common on most, if not all, Linux installations where system configuration files are kept. Okay, and in this we have a directory for portage. Again, portage is the Gentoo package manager. And so let's just change to that directory and list the contents. And you can see here there's a file called make.conf. That second one, make.profile, if I add a flag to my list command here, L for long, that little arrow next to make.profile means that it's actually a link, okay? But it links to nothing. It links to a missing thing. So that's going to get fixed during the installation. And then we have a few other, it looks like maybe directories. So I don't think we have Vim, do we? Do we have VI? We do. Okay, so now we want to open the make.conf file. It's just a plain text file. So again, if you're used to Windows, you might open it in Notepad or WordPad. I wouldn't open it in Word. Here, of course, we're not in a graphical environment, so we have to use a textual text editor. You'll pretty much find on any Linux installation a text editor called VI. I don't know what the VI stands for. There's also one called Nano. I'm more familiar with VI, so I'm going to use that. The handbook, I think, uses Nano, but it's no big deal. We just want to see the contents of the text file. In fact, we don't even need to edit the text file. So another option, rather than opening the text file to edit, we can just dump the contents of the text file to our screen here to take a look at what's inside. So that's what the cat command does. I think it's short for, I don't know what it's short for, but it spits out the contents of whatever file to your screen. So let's see, the common flag. So it's using -02 optimization, a dash pipe. Does not have -march or -mtune, but it said that the defaults should be fine. Let's go back to our handbook here. Common flags. Maybe we'll add the -march native so that it adds at least the thingies for our chip. Let's go ahead and add that, why don't we? So now we are going to need a text editor. Okay, again, I like VI or VI improved, VIM, which is not installed right now. But you can use your text editor of choice. And again, this is another reason why, if this is your very first time doing it, you might want to use a different live CD that has a graphical environment, because then you can open the file using a graphical text editor, which you might be a little bit more familiar and comfortable with. Okay, so here we're going to do -march equals native space, right, the W means right, and then we're going to quit. So down at the bottom, I can give my text editor a command. So here I'm telling the text editor to quit, empty. All right. So we added the march flag. I don't think we're going to do anything else. Here's a good tip. You can go here to GCC optimization, but actually you should probably start with safe CFLAGS if you want to maybe explore some of the options you have there for your CFLAGS. We're just gonna leave the march native, and we're gonna be happy with that. Make ops defines how many parallel compilations. Okay, this is handy. So let's actually go back to. So this describes to you exactly what make ops is, but this is essentially so whereas C flags and CXX flags are flags that are passed to the compiler, make ops are flags that are passed to the make command. What is the make command? Wolf Mafia 2. Well, I guess this is not a programming tutorial, but essentially, like if I was going to compile, so GCC is a compiler, some program.cpp, I might call my compiler like this, where I tell the compiler the name of the file that holds my code. But what ends up happening when you have large projects is you're going to have multiple files that have to be compiled like in a certain order, or they have to be linked against each other, and it becomes very tedious and error prone to call the compiler directly. And so instead, a program was created called make. Okay, and what the make program does is it reads the contents of a file in the current directory called a make file that the programmer writes, and it tells the make command, uh, these are all the pieces, or these are all the files that contain my code. This is the order to compile them in. This is how I want you to link them, etc. And the make command itself, let's see if we can make command not found. Well, that's weird. Well, if the make command was present here, we could see that one of the flags that it accepts is -j or --jobs. And what that tells it is, uh, as much as possible to run that many jobs at the same time. Okay, I wonder if I have top. I do. This is kind of hard to read though, isn't it? It is, and I don't have the cool version. So I know that on this computer, for example, my CPU has 4 threads. And so I want make to run, if it can, 4 jobs at a time, because, that's just kind of how processors work, is if it has 4 threads, it can do 4 things at the same time. And sure, like one of the threads might be making that cursor blink right now, but that's not really using up a whole lot of teraflops. I don't know what it's called. And so this is definitely something that we're going to want to adjust and pay attention to what the handbook is telling us here. So here, I guess they have a 2-core processor. They're going to go with 2 jobs at a time. We're going to go ahead and add 4 jobs. And then we're gonna be ready to install the base system. All right, so let's go ahead back into our make.conf, and you'll notice that there's nothing in here about make ops. So, and again, this is just a text file. So please, if you're in Windows, use Notepad. If you're using an Ubuntu Live CD, use gedit. But I'm just adding a line here. I'm literally just typing these words. This is not voodoo. Make sure that you don't forget the quotes. Again, I know I have 4 cores. This is just a rule of thumb, okay? Some people like to do one more than the number of cores. Some people like to keep it lower for whatever. So this is a matter of preference. I'm going to go within my number of cores. Okay, write, quit, and I guess now we're ready for the next step. Haha. So you guys didn't see any of that, but I did it. Make.conf. Just to prove it, I'm going to delete it. Maybe we'll fix this in post. Make ops J4. All right, no voodoo here. It's just words. Words in a text file. All right, back to Firefox. Here we go. Was there an exclamation mark? There was. Ready, set, go! Continue with installing the Gentoo base system. Let's have at it. How far are we in? We're 18 minutes in. We're taking this slow. All right, we're just having fun. Just friends chatting and installing Gentoo Linux. All right, we're gonna chroot. I always pronounce it chroot. It stands for change root. I don't know how you pronounce it. Chroot. We'll configure. So once we chroot, then we'll have access to actually some more programs. Installing, blah, blah, blah. Optional system D as the init system. That's going to be us. All right. Man, I think we might be able to do all of this in episode 2. What's episode 3 going to be? Let's not jump around. Okay. I kind of want to see what next. Configuring the kernel. Oh, boy. Yeah, that'll be fun. All right. Well, let's just jump right in. Optional selecting mirrors. You know what? F it. Let's do it. So, what is a mirror? So the portage, okay, Gentoo. Okay, and what is a package manager? I guess I never really discussed that. I'm gonna keep making, comparisons to Windows because I assume most people are familiar with Windows and know how things work in Windows. Okay, so in Windows, if I want to install a new program, like let's say Notepad++, I think that's a pretty cool program. You would do a search in Google. You would come here to the website, click on downloads, and here we go. All right. I don't know. I guess they started giving them names. Poor Samuel Patty, whatever that means. So here I can download an installer. Boom. And it's going to install Notepad++ in my Windows. And that's pretty much how it goes for any program that you want to install in Windows, right? So you know how this works. You go in, you search for the website, you find the installer takes care of it. If you're real fancy, you might know what portable means, you might know what mini portable means, but always you're pretty much going to be looking for an installer. Um, I know that Windows try to do the Windows Store. It kind of sucks, but sometimes it works where, just like there's an app store on your iPhone or on your Android, you can install some programs from the Windows Store, but most of the times you're just going to be searching in Google like I just did. After the program's installed, if you want to remove it, you go to Add Remove Programs and you can remove it that way. But really, you are manually managing these installations, all right? And you're trusting this installer, right? You don't know what it's doing. You don't know where it's putting files. It could be deleting files for all you know. It's a lot of trust that you give to every single person making a program out there. And yeah, okay, for the most part, it works. Okay, it's fine. If you're super fancy, maybe you use Chocolate, which is a package manager. So what is a package manager? It's a program that sits on your operating system that manages the installation of any program or the removal of any program, or it'll give you information about what you have installed on your computer. Okay, so Windows has one that you can use. I'm going to show you. It's called Chocolate. Oh, sorry, it's called Chocolatey. Modern software automation, the package manager for Windows. So there is one in Windows. I've never used it, but I hear it's nice. Every single Linux distribution, all right, whether it's Gentoo, Ubuntu. In fact, one of the defining characteristics of a given Linux distribution is how does it manage its packages. All right. In Linux, it's managed by a program called Portage. And what Portage does is it finds the source code for the program. It takes all the configurations that you, the system administrator, have provided. It compiles them given that configuration, and then it installs it into the appropriate place. In order for Portage to work, it has all these different files. They're called e-builds tells it what to do for every single package that you want. So for any package that you want to install, it has to have an e-build, and that list of e-builds is always changing and evolving. Sometimes packages are added, sometimes packages are taken out. And so all that it's called the portage tree, which is just all the list of those e-bills are kept on the web in the cloud somewhere in multiple places. And what a mirror is a mirror of that, and so different places around the world is going to be hosting this portage tree. So what this is going to do is going to find the closest mirror just to kind of make things a little bit faster. So we're going to go ahead and do this mirror select dash I dash O. And since, we don't like to do things without knowing what's going on, why don't we figure out what those two options do? Let's see. Look at this. There's colors in here. Isn't that fancy? Isn't that fancy, mirror select? All right, so mirror select, common. No, that's from our interactive. On the more. These settings were set by the Catalyst build script and automatically. Okay. We're looking for dash I and dash O, which is what it told us to do. If we want to search, we can use a forward slash. I did forward slash dash I. There it goes, interactive. This will present a list to make it possible to select mirrors you wish to use. I think I saw -O at the bottom. -O, output only mode. This is especially useful when being used during installation to redirect output to a file other than /etc/portage/make.conf. But that's exactly what they're doing anyways, isn't it? This little double right arrow means take the output of this command and write it to the end of this file. You have to be careful here. If you only use one of these arrows, it's actually going to overwrite the contents of the file and it's going to be lost forever. So I wonder why they use -O. Oh well, we're going to do exactly what they say. Mirror select -I-O make.conf. Wow, it's interactive. Okay, so now you need to choose a mirror that's close to you. Hopefully I'm not giving away too much of my trade secrets by telling you I'm in the US of A. I think there's one in Georgia. I think there used to be. Oh, there it is, Georgia. A lot of these have two options, HTTP or rsync. I don't really know the difference. Oh no, I didn't select anything. This really confounded me the last time I was working on this. Let's go back down to the Georgia one. I think you have to hit space or something to select it. Where'd you go? There it is. Rochester, Georgia. Or maybe asterisk? Or maybe space? There you go. You hit space to select it. Now, if we let's just dump out the contents of make.conf. You can see there at the very bottom, what that command did was added that line of text, Gentoo _mirrors, and then that website. So, boom, we have selected a mirror. A second important step is to configure the eBuild repository, blah, 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 contains the sync information, blah, blah, blah. What is this? Have I done this? All right, I'm going to leave this default for now, and if things don't work, we'll go back and do it. I think it said it was optional. Wait, was this part optional? Optional, selecting mirrors. Yeah. This part is not optional. So how do I explain? Yikes. Okay. So what does chroot mean? It means change root. Okay, let's flip back over here for a second, why don't we? So I'm going to change directories to my root. So remember, this is our current operating system. This is what we're operating within. This is from the live CD. Okay, and if I list the contents of a subdirectory here, mount, and another subdirectory, Gentoo, you can see that it's similar, right? It has a bin, which stands for binary. It has a boot folder. It has a dev or device folder. It has an etc. So in fact, what we extracted from the stage 3 tarball is a root file system. It's just not the root of the file system. You see what I mean? And here I'm going to echo, this is an environment variable called path, okay? And Windows operates in a similar way, actually. Anytime you try to execute a command, like in this case, echo, it has to know where to search for that command. Where on the system might that be installed? And the path variable, it tells it where to search. So here it's telling it to search in these places. All of them end in the word bin or binary. Okay, so what we're going to do when we do chroot, we're going to change the root of our working environment to the Gentoo mount that the space on the disk where we extracted the stage 3 tarball, so that it's going to seem as if the root of our file system is that mount Gentoo area. I hope that made sense. Maybe it's a little confusing. It's probably confusing. Yeah, it's confusing. Okay, that's fine. I don't know what to tell you. But what we're doing here, though, is right now our host operating system has some DNS information, dynamic namespace, I think. It's for talking to the internet. So that when you ping www.google.com, it can translate that string into an IP address. Whenever we change root, it's not going to have that information, so we're just going to copy it from the host operating system that's working into the changed root environment. Okay, so notice we're taking a file, etc. resolve.conf, and we're just copying it directly into that same folder, etc. in the new root location, mount Gentoo, so that when we change root to here, it's going to have the same path, /etc. /resolve.conf. All right, man, this is complicated. cp /etc/resolve.conf 2/mount/gentoo/etc. I can't tab complete here because it doesn't exist. So, and make sure that you don't put an E here. I've made that mistake many times myself, and then it'll mess stuff up. All right, and look at this. I got a little mouse here. Not really using it though. Okay, now before we change root, we have to mount a few things. I wish that there was a command in the live CD to do this because this part gets annoying. I always copy and paste, but here I'm going to have to type it out. So, mount -- types, blah, blah, blah. All right, let's just, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep this screen up, but I myself will flip back and forth to the mount, to the whatchamacallit, to the browser. So there's nothing tricky going on behind the scenes here. I can't memorize all those words. And it's kind of annoying to flip the scene back and forth. I don't have any shortcuts. I don't have any shortcuts set up in OBS here. Okay, proc /proc /mount /gentoo /proc. And that's not even right because I missed a letter. This is again taking stuff from the host, which in this case is the live CD, and mounting it into somewhere that the changed root environment will recognize. I don't exactly know what -- types or -- rbind does. This is a little bit of magic to me, but you know, it works. Oh man, most Linux installations aren't like this, just so you know. Most of them do all this in a very different way. But, you know, we're installing Gentoo, so we're doing it the Gentoo way, man. If you don't like it, you don't have to be here. Okay, now we have to do... So obviously there's a pattern here. So you're R binding it, and then you're making it an R slave. So, again, I don't know. Dev, and then mount, make R slave. I think the has... Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Phew. In my opinion, that's the most tedious part of this installation. Oh man, pay attention to this if you are using like an Ubuntu Live CD for the graphical environment. Hey, look at this. We are ready to rock and roll. Chrooting is done in 3 steps. First, change the root location. Again, read all this, guys. It's very, very informative. Change root to the mount point using this shell. Alrighty. Dun 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 /Gentoo. Okay. Looks the same. Did I do it wrong? Okay, we need a source /etc /profile, and then we're gonna change our prompt so that you know we know that we're in the chroot environment. So source /etc /profile. And then what was this? Okay, just prepend our, so PS1 is another environment variable. I don't know what the P or the S stand for, but essentially whatever that variable holds, it'll be whatever this prompt is. So right now, in fact, I'll show you. Let's go back to, so echo can be used to see the contents of a variable. It's got colors and stuff in it, so it's a little bit difficult to parse. In fact, it's impossible. I'm not going to go through it right now. But all I'm going to do is export means do this globally, ps1. So I want the ps1 variable to contain the string chroot, and then whatever is currently in the variable ps1. So that's why I'm saying that we're prepending it. La da 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 da. All right. Make help. Now we have a make command. Remember, we didn't have that in the live CD. They didn't bother to put it in there. But we are now in a different environment. We are now in the environment that was unpacked from the stage 3 tarball. This is the environment that we're going to use to build all the programs that we need for our operating system. And then we're going to reboot into that environment. Oh man, it's so great. It's so great. All right, let's go back to Firefox and the handbook. Should be able, yes. Mount the boot partition. We did not make a separate boot partition, so we can skip this. Or at least I didn't. If you did, you'll have to do that step. Bum, bum. Snapshot. The use of a merge website behind restrictive. I'm not. Might complain. Do I have to do this? I'm gonna do it. It's probably gonna take a while. Emerge dash web rsync. All right, well that's going. Let's see what the next thing. Okay, so next it says optional, but we're gonna do this. Okay, actually I think we should be fine. So here's what's going on. Like I mentioned before, there's a portage tree, if you will. It's what we call it, the portage tree, that contains all of the e-builds that portage recognizes. Okay, and again, an e-build is just a set of commands that tells it how to compile and install a given program. So right now, the stage 3 tarball doesn't have that portage tree, or it has like an old portage tree from whenever that tarball was packaged up. And so what this is doing is it's just syncing the local portage tree to what's up in the cloud somewhere, at least as recent as 24 hours. Something that you'll do on a pretty regular basis in Gentoo as an administrator is you're going to sync your tree again using emerge sync. So emerge is the main command that you use to interact with portage. So emerge is, it uses the portage package manager. This is telling it to sync the tree. I'm going to skip this command. If I'm going to have something recent to 24 hours, I'm perfectly happy with that. Let's see, reading news items. Okay, we'll check that out. Although I think we're probably all right. Choosing the right profile. Oh yeah. Which profile do we want? We'll go in there for that. No, I want multi-lib. I do want systemd. Oh, ho, ho. We're gonna already be here, huh? This is gonna be the end of episode 2, y'all. This will be the end of episode 2. I know that already. I am okay. We're gonna go back. I wonder if that command's done yet. Let's go check. It is. All right. So again, read the handbook. Read the handbook. Read the handbook. Uh, I'm not giving you all the info you need. All right. E-select news read new. But this is just a system that the portage maintainers or that the Gentoo maintainers use to communicate with the customer base or with the install base. This is old news. Look at this. This is from 2016. I'm probably going to ignore that. I'm going to ignore all of these. 2018, I'm good. 2019, accept license. This is a big change, actually. We'll get into that as we're installing programs, though. This is really good information. There's not news very often, So when there is, I highly recommend you read it and take heed. Open SSH breakage, so that was probably important. Python 2 went away. I mean, that's for everybody. Kind of a big deal in the world. Upgrade, bam, bam. Okay, so there was the news. All right, but let's look at eSelect list profile. eSelect profile list. All right, so these are all the available profiles. The current version of Gentoo is 17.1. The cool thing about Gentoo is it's a rolling. Oops, I just bumped my mic. It's a rolling release. Okay. Actually, it's a lot like Windows 10 in that regard. So Windows 10, you might think that you have the same Windows 10 you had 4 years ago. You don't. I mean, they've been updating it. It's practically a new OS every 6 months, I think, or maybe every year. Gentoo is the same way. Um, so 17.0 was a previous release. 17.1 was released in the past maybe year or two. It's not very often that they bump a version like that. Usually, they're just going to make changes to the current version, and then you'll catch it as you keep your system up to date. So what a profile does, and the handbook describes this, is it sets up your system with a certain a certain set of portage configurations based on how you want to use the system. All right, a very, 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 very bare bones system would be number one at the very top. The asterisk is showing the version that we've selected, number 14. It's also a very, 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 very bare bones system. Only it's using systemd instead of the default init system. Um, Actually, what I'm going to do is because I'm gonna want to install some graphical stuff to just show you guys how cool it can be. And I think a lot of people think KD. Well, you know what? We're gonna do the GNOME one. So eSelect profile set, and I'm gonna set it to number what is it? 7. Okay, so here I can choose what is it, 4 or 5 maybe. So I can use number 5 there is just kind of a generic desktop. So the number 5 is nice if like you want to install a bunch of graphical applications and just kind of tune your desktop the way you want it. Number 6 or 7, depending if you have systemd. GNOME is one of the you know uh, so there's two predominant desktop environments or DEs in Linux. GNOME is one of them, and KDE Plasma is the other one. They're very very full featured. I mean they if you boot up into one of these desktop environments, you're gonna feel right at home, almost as if you were in your Windows 10 or your Mac OS. They aim for that level of integration with the hardware and of user interaction. Okay, so I'm going to set it to number 7 so that it goes to GNOME systemd, and then we're going to double check to make sure I did that right. Okay, yeah, so our asterisk is next to the GNOME systemd, and I'm going to go ahead and warn you before we even get there that I don't know anything about GNOME. I don't use that. I don't use Plasma either. We'll get into that later, but I will boot into it and turn it on, and I'll show you how kind of cool and nifty it is. All right, so we've set a profile. Gentoo comes, blah blah blah. Okay, we'll deal with license stuff as it pops up. Don't worry about that. But read it, please, or do this. This is like the old school. This means just I don't, and probably you want this actually. No, no, or do it doesn't even tell you. This means you're only going to accept free licenses, nothing else, and then you'll have to manually accept non-free licenses. This is like the really FOSS, free open source software way of doing it. Blah blah blah. Using systemd. Yes, we're doing this. So I'm gonna put this in a new tab, the systemd article. This part of the installation gets a little bit hairy in my opinion, just because I have to flip back and forth between this one article on the Gentoo wiki that tells me about things I need for systemd, and then flip back to the handbook, which is focused on this OpenRC init system. So if you are choosing systemd, just know again it gets a little bit hairy, but totally doable, not insurmountable. Blah, blah, blah. Select the time zone for the system. All right, let's select the time zone. Oh wait, this is again, this is Harry. All right, so I'm not doing any of this. All this is for OpenRC. So let's see what we're gonna do next. Time zone, locale selection. All right, so let's go do all that, but for system D. So let's scroll to the top, look at our table of contents. We're gonna skip the installation. We're gonna skip the kernel stuff. We already selected the correct profile. Configuration, locale, time and date. All right, let's go do those two. Actually, is this even gonna work? I remember having some problems with this because I was in a chroot environment. Let's see if we can make it work. Usually, so this is what you kind of have to do now, right? So I'm back in the handbook here. See what the handbook is asking you to do, and then go search for it here in the systemd article. So systemd article, blah blah blah, locale control, set locale. Usually locales will be properly migrated. When required, the locale can be set for the handbook instruction. Once booted with systemd. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, I have a feeling we're going to skip this for now, but let's see. Locale. I don't think it's going to work. List locales, maybe. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Screw that. We're gonna hold off, I think. Maybe we do want to check the time thingy though. Time date control dash dash help. Let's see what's going on there. Query or change the system time and date settings. Time date control status. It's not. Dang. Friday, November 20th, 21 o'clock. Yes, it's 21 o'clock. All right. I think we just got lucky. I got messed up once with the time. Like I had some files that were the wrong time or something and ended up messing things up. All right, so environment update. Did we miss something? I think we missed something. Using systemd, portage queue, configuring. Less configuring use. Here it is. It is wise to update the system's world set so that a base can be established. The following step is necessary so the system can apply any updates or use flag changes which have appeared since the stage 3 was built and from any previous profile selection. So especially since we changed the profile to the GNOME profile, whenever we go to emerge, it's gonna add a bunch of stuff to our system that's not there right now. Yeah, those are the time crunch can work by this rule of thumb. Okay, yeah, good tip. So you're gonna get really familiar with emerge if you decide to stick with Gentoo, so the main portage entry way here. This means don't do anything without confirmation. This means show more information. This means update packages on my system, including any dependencies of that package, as well as packages that are not new but just have new use flags. All right, this is pretty traditional. I do this every day if I don't forget on my system to make sure it's up to date. So we're going to go kick off that command, and then that's going to be the end of today's episode. Ask, verbose, deep, new use, update. And then the ampersand is required. This is how so Portage recognizes sets of programs, and the world set is everything that's on the system. Okay, and when we change the profile, it selected more, um, whatchamacalls them. It selected more programs as part of the world set. So there's programs that are not installed right now that this current update is going to pull in due to selecting a new profile. This part, calculating dependencies, sometimes takes a while. It used to take a lot longer, but then somebody submitted a patch. All right, usually I'm gonna say go through, review what you're updating here, check things, etc. But there's two reasons that I can't do that now. I don't know how to scroll in here, and also because we're doing the installation, there's no conflicts. It's just asking me if I want to merge the packages. So here you're going to type in yes, and it's going to go and do its thing. This is going to take a while, okay, especially if you have older hardware. So we're just going to let it do its thing now. And whenever I come back for episode 3, we'll just go on to the next chapter. All this installation will be done, and we'll just kind of take it from there. So again, thank you for joining and joining me on this journey. Don't really know what I'm doing, streaming. Do know what I'm doing with Gentoo, mostly though. So thanks everyone, and I hope you enjoyed the show.